I'm going to bring in Jill Schiefelbein, who's the president of the Dynamic Communicator. Jill, there you are. Jill, lovely to see you again. I loved watching you on stage during Virtuoso Travel Week, where we worked with you on that fabulous event. Sorry, I should be looking at the camera. I keep looking at my screen, but I want to look at the screen. Anyway, Jill, thank you so much for joining us. You're gonna take us away with the questions, and also we've got Michael Levie. If Michael Levie could join as well, he's Chief Operations Officer for CitizenM, probably the foremost innovative hotel company on the planet, I would say. And also joining Michael, Terry, and Jill is Fuad Sajdi. Fuad, there you are, Fuad. Good to see you. Co-founder and CEO of Toggle Market, one of our sponsors, and he's doing some great innovation at the moment with procurement, particularly focused in the Middle East. So great to have all of you with us. Jill, I'm handing it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Hello, gentlemen. Let's not waste any time with pleasantries and let's dive right into a conversation here. Michael, I'm going to start with you. One of the things when you created CitizenM was really not about picking a single aspect that could be changed. And we heard a great example of that in Terry's presentation, but instead your team said, let's get rid of all of it. Let's start from scratch. Let's reverse engineer this process so we can innovate and create something fantastic. Talk to us about that mentality.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us try to evolve, and especially our hospitality industry is great at that. So if we paint a gray wall white, we have innovated, and we really need to, make some real inroads and go to some new blue oceans. And in order to get there, we felt that everybody in the industry tries to serve everybody. So take a target audience and then check how that target audience lives when they're not with you. So you have a real good understanding of their lifestyle. And then what is it that they require as an end product from you? And then work back from there. And then in getting that end product realized for them, look at each different service offered and look at the business process. How is it done? Why? What is the current requirement? And what shall we change? And it is that you are willing to change business processes that in our road has made the huge difference. And we have changed the way we organize the back office. We have changed the way we build hotels. We have changed the way we finance them. We have changed the way we provide service. We have changed the way how we use technology. And it's significantly different than was done before. And it's just because we started with the end goal in sight and looked at what our target customer wanted. And then what Terry mentioned already, the word no is a very nice thing to introduce in your life. So don't run after every ball, stay focused, and just say no to a lot of stuff that people bring in that we did it this way and we should have to do this and that. No, this is what we want to do.
Thank you so much, Michael. And Fuad, you come to this, and one of the things that Michael said that I want to build off of is, he was thinking about the end user in mind, but a lot of innovation, as Michael pointed out, is about the business processes. When it comes to Toggle Marketplace, you guys have really innovated from the system side of it to make procurement easier. Talk to us about how you see the system side of the business processes in hospitality really impacting innovation.
Yeah, good question. It's actually a difficult question to answer. I'm going to reflect on our experience. And we actually started from in an attempt to address the pain point. And we had to sort of customize a user experience that joins up a highly fragmented process, which is the procurement of operating supplies at the pre-opening stage. Designing the user experience was not rocket science, and there were a lot of solutions that we were able to streamline that would make certain aspects of the conventional process redundant and therefore create more efficiencies. But it was the technology that powers it that didn't exist. And that's where we had to focus more so on building a system that is able to accommodate for the complex and intricate needs of the features and the tools that we have designed that are meant to sort of serve different aspects of the supply chain. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I cannot really speak on behalf of the hospitality sector, but I can speak on behalf of what we do. Toggle Market is not actually, so we cater to the needs and requirements of people that operate within the hospitality sector, but we're not actually serving the hotels themselves. But I'd like to learn from from Michael and Terry as to what it is that, you know.
Thank you. And I think it's when we talk about innovation in any industry, but obviously pertinent to this in hospitality, it's those intersections with other industries and other services that can sometimes cultivate and bring about a big idea. And Terry, you talked about this a lot within the intrapreneurial aspects of the commentary you just shared. As you think about that, what do you often find a big challenge internally, especially in large organizations? One of the things that I love that you said is that things were very much siloed. They were in departments. How do you get that thinking eradicated so that you can include more perspectives?
Well, you know, it's really up to the leadership, up to the CEO. I had a slide I didn't talk about called the boson layer, which is the impenetrable layer of middle management that stops good ideas from moving upward. and that layer exists because managers aren't rewarded for change. So leaders have to say, here's Bob's idea and it was a great success. And here's George's idea and it failed. We're giving George another chance. And as soon as people hear that George and Betty got another chance, then they're going to want to change. So it's really up to leadership to do that. And your other point was about, you know, technological change, I think. I have a speech called Disruption Often, a new book about technological disruption. And what I do is talk about, if I'm talking to hospitality, I'll talk about how AI and drones and robotics and wearables and wireless are changing other industries, and let them connect the dots in their head. If I tell them what they should do in hospitality, they'll cross their arms and go, well, that won't work here. So it's better to let people, you know, connect the dots in their own head and say, wow, you know, we could use robotics to clean rooms or to deliver room service, as people have been doing during COVID. So you don't go at them directly, you know, you kind of go around them, but it is up to central management and leadership to break down those silos.
I love that. And your commentary actually reminded me of an example in the book Sprint by Jake Knapp. I don't know if you've read that book, but as it pertains to innovation, everyone on the line, if you want some really quick processes for innovation and seeing if ideas work, I cannot recommend that book Sprint enough. But I think it comes down to, you know, Terry, what you just said about the technological side, and then Fuad, what you were talking about in terms of efficiencies. I want to kind of tie that together and transition to some of what Michael really talked about, which is the human side of innovation, right? Michael's team really focused on, and I loved his quote, understanding the lifestyles of the consumer. So first, Fuad, to you, when it comes to the people side of your business, trying to get people to understand your innovations, to understand your new technologies and processes, what are some of the challenges to this innovation that you encounter?
The challenges to getting people to understand the innovation.
Yes.
It's, look, our platform is a B2B platform. At the end of the day, when it comes to people, we serve them as an engine of liberation from the mundane chores of procurement. But when it comes to the overall added value we bring is not necessarily just to the user, it's more so to the institution that the user represents. So can you repeat your question again? Sorry, Jed.
No, that's fine. When you are presenting your solution, right?
Okay.
Everyone has innovations in different ways, but presenting those innovations to your target audience, to your end user, or to the people that you need buy-in from presents a challenge. When you're trying to improve an efficiency in the tech space, that's a huge challenge to communicate, especially to a non-tech user.
Okay, so one of the users, it could potentially be not the user, but beneficiaries is Michael, because Michael is a hotel owner. And I'm sure he's experienced the pains of pre-opening procurement of operating supplies and fixtures, furnitures, and equipment. And the way we explain things is that the technology allows for Michael to have better oversight over the process, because he's going to either assign a third party or an in-house resource to manage it. And there's a lot of money involved. So it's better oversight, more efficiency, meaning that less time is required to manage the procurement process, and therefore overheads could be somehow contained. And it's access to a broader network of manufacturers, meaning there's an element of choice and optionality, which Terry emphasized in his presentation. So it's the answer is we bring in an element of efficiency, better control, and choice and optionality when it comes to sourcing. And that's what
you can't change everything at once. At Travelocity, we found that people were willing to book, but they weren't willing to put a credit card in the internet in 1996. They were afraid it would be stolen out of the air, which it never has been. So we put up an 800 number. It said, call us and give us your credit card. And they did. Now, we didn't tell them when we got it, we put it in over the internet. We failed to mention that to them. But, that's what you had to do, because we couldn't change all their behaviors at once. So, sometimes you have to change a little bit and then let the consumer come along with you.
And I think to that point, Michael, I want to follow up with that from the consumer angle, right? When people are experiencing CitizenM for the first time, they're obviously going to experience some differences from other hotels that they have stayed in. What do you do in terms of, earlier we heard a lot about proactivity, in terms of your proactive communication about your innovations to the consumer versus what do you leave up to the experience?
Well, I think that first of all, most companies overpromise, underdeliver, and we turned it around. So we underpromised and overdelivered. So we basically sell a relatively small room for a price at the location, and if people want to buy that, they put their credit card now over the internet, Terry, down, and they buy. And then when they show up, they have very little expectation, and they walk in, they go, wow. And what we do is we create an environment from a lifestyle point of view that is very understanding to them. They immediately get it. And the minute somebody walks in, it takes like a nanosecond for somebody to get the environment, yes or no. And then that is only the backdrop, because what we did is hospitality is still a human service. And what we did is we made our line staff, we call them ambassadors because they are the company, they represent the company, made them empowered, accountable, and responsible for the guest satisfaction. And the rest of the organization supports them up. And that takes me back a little bit to what you mentioned, the process and how that is done. And I think that innovating in a top-down environment is killing. If you have an inverted pyramid like we have, or holacracy, or there are different ways where you keep the team small, as Terry mentioned, there is an ability to do that. If you truly empower people, then the importance comes, who do you hire? And if you then hire not on skill, but on character, and then let them loose in overlapping 85% or better on your values and what you believe the service should look like, magic happens, and the guest really responds to that.
I love the notes on empowerment, and it kind of ties back into a little bit of what Terry was talking about earlier. Terry, I want to pivot this just a little with you. We learned some of the things that organizations can do to inspire more entrepreneurship, if you will. But what type of characteristics do you need to instill in the managers to be able to get them to be cultivating those under them, to bring these ideas to the surface, to empower them like Michael does with his team?
You know, a huge amount of it is about listening, because the best ideas, as Michael said, come from the people on the line, and you have to listen to them. So sometimes you can force that. One of the things we did at American Airlines is we created a new idea program where every idea was approved by the manager in the department and 2 managers from other departments who had different perspectives. More ideas got through, and the naysayer felt the pressure to say, I better stop saying no and start saying yes. Because in the 21st century, you want to compete with the startup, you have to say yes. You know, that's your job. It's really easy to say no and walk away. Saying yes is hard. It means you're involved. It means, oh, God, I have to do something. But if a large organization is way smarter than any startup. It has the factory, it has the brand, it has the supply chain. It just has to say yes. But normally it says no. So convincing people to say yes and to listen are the most important things.
You know, it's funny. It reminds me, the very first article I ever wrote for Entrepreneur Magazine was about innovation and the 2 words that will kill it. And I posited those as not possible. And I think you hear that so much from people internally about what is not possible.
Right. Right. Oh, and, yeah. Look, you imagine hooking the Sabre reservation system that had 40 airlines in it to the internet? You'll never do that. You know, that was pretty scary, right? So, you know, you just have to work hard to get around those problems and get people to understand they say yes. I have a thing in one of my speeches, I should have had it today, which is the corporate pinball machine. It's how decisions are made. And all those little bouncer things in a pinball are the other departments that say no. And the big flippers at the bottom are finance and legal, because they're the biggest no in any company, right? Yeah. So you have to get rid of the pinball machine.
Well, Jill, if I may add to that, is that I do believe that the process is important, the culture is important, and the people are important. And it's sort of like a little stool with 3 legs, and they're equally important. They equally need focus, but process without culture and people doesn't work. People without culture is a disaster. And culture by itself is a nice kumbaya session, but doesn't get you there either. So it needs to marry up somewhere.
I'm 100% in agreement. And Fuad, I want to pitch this question to you, because we're on this train of thought about getting the right teams together for innovation. You came to it from an efficiency standpoint, a problem-solving standpoint. How did you look at recruiting the right people to help you in your innovations for solving the procurement problems?
It's actually one of the most difficult parts of my job, recruitment, finding the right teammates to join the company, because it's not just about the skill set, it's also about the desire to build something of significance and be able to sort of grasp the narrative of why we're doing what we're doing. Because one fundamental ingredient to innovation, I believe, is a sense of necessity. And that can be only derived either through one living or experiencing those pain points that we're trying to address, or develop some empathy with the user whom we seek and strive to make their lives better. And that kind of makes recruitment difficult, especially for a startup at our stage, because our resources are limited, and therefore we need to make sure that whoever joins the team adds significant value. So it's hard to reflect. It feels like magic, because every single member of our team is literally remarkable. There is no one way, there was no one specific approach we took. Some we came across by coincidence, and other individuals, some of my colleagues, we kind of, I don't like to use that term, but we picked them like a needle from a haystack, because they're specialized in a very specific domain, and they're the only ones that can address the problems that we might want to have that we were facing. Infrastructure is one of them, and we have quite our overall architecture was troublesome at the start until we were able to attract our senior infrastructure engineer. I think it's also about culture. I think culture and a sense of, a purpose plus having the right foundations would allow us to attract the right talent.
I like the
questions are difficult, Jill. I couldn't relate to them.
I am here to ask the difficult questions to get the real answers for the people on the line. So,
That's good.
today is a celebration, right? This panel, the ending of today is really the celebration of innovation in the hospitality industry. And as we start to wrap our commentary up, so gentlemen, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to have to limit you to quick answers. I know that's never fun. When you think of in the past year, a difficult year for everyone in so many different ways, but I want you to think very quickly, and Terry, I'm going to start with you, then Michael, and then Fuad. What's one innovation, as tiny as it may seem, that has come out of the past year that we can celebrate in the hospitality space?
Well, I'm going to use a combination of Airbnb and Marriott. They both looked at where people were staying. Airbnb changed their search to be more rural, and it was hugely accretive to their revenue because people didn't want to be in the big city. Marriott partnered with companies to focus on the drive market. So it was looking how did the customer change and how quickly can we change to accommodate their new need?
I love that, Michael. That goes directly to you understanding the customer lifestyle.
Yeah, so I think that COVID all shocked us, and we really didn't know what to do. So we are working on digital, on improving apps, and we had all kinds of tracks. And one of those tracks was, wouldn't it be great if there is a full touchless possibility for people to make their reservation, check in, activate the elevator, and even use their smartphones as keys. And we have been able in record time to roll that out in all our hotels. So if you download our app, you can be fully touchless and have control over everything. And then to boot in our rooms, that app gives you full control over, everything that normally went through an iPad, but, window treatments, HVAC, television, music, temperature, you name it.
I love it. Fuad?
I'm going to do what Michael did. I'm going to celebrate our digital port, which is a virtual supply chain infrastructure. We completed it in September. And I believe it's something that's worth celebrating. But if there was a single innovation that we would celebrate every single year, and I think it's one of the most significant, is probably the washing machine. Because it liberated half the world's population, and we take a lot of inspiration from the washing machine.
No, I love that. Looking back to even look forward in a way, which ties in perfectly to the last question I'm going to pitch all of you before we end our celebration today and let everyone get to the next stage of this event. And I'll go in reverse order here. So Fuad, starting with you, looking back to the washing machine, even to look forward, what do you see as the future of innovation in this space? Thinking, 2025 and beyond.
In this space as in hospitality?
Yeah, and you can even talk about your space in terms of the systems if you'd like.
I think B2B e-commerce is going to become adoption of digital sourcing and procurement is going to, I think, become more prominent. And that's due to the IT infrastructure that allows for this to take place, having gotten to a point of maturity. And I think adoption of e-commerce on an enterprise level is more likely today than it was 5 years ago. And I believe, so when it comes to hospitality, there's going to be a lot of digitization in sourcing and procurement, a lot more than there currently is today.
To those watching, that translates into many opportunities, is what I am hearing. Michael, what about from your perspective, 2025 and beyond?
I think that over the past decades, the world became smaller because we could travel and everybody could travel. And I think that in hospitality, we thought that only people educated in hospitality with a lot of rich experience could run it. And I think that, the industries, the verticals have become so close to each other that we need to start to understand that unless we cross over and bring them together, we as a hospitality industry don't innovate, don't move fast enough, and we become such an antiquated good that there will be something else coming up, but we won't be there to witness it.
So much foresight there, which ties into, Terry, some things you said earlier about let's get rid of those departments, or at least that mentality. I completely agree with Michael. Where do your comments take us into innovation in 2025 and beyond?
Well, look, we've lived for the last 10 months in this world, the video world. We're not traveling. We have to get people traveling again. That's about experiences, okay? And I think the biggest change will be, I hope, the deployment of AI in the travel business. Travel is dead last in the deployment of AI of any industry, but we should change the user interface. Customers still travel, is stuck in the box. We invented a Travelocity in 1996. Where do you want to go? What day do you want to go there? Not, I want to go to an island and play golf and my wife wants a spa. Natural language can let you do that. AI can let you show you a picture of the spa. You don't have to look at 100 pictures. The review can be about golf. I mean, these are simple things to do with AI, and there's going to be much, much more, particularly around voice. So I think new user interfaces to let the customer find the experience, because CitizenM is amazing, but you have a lot of different things at different hotels, and so do other brands. I don't know what the heck you have, and I can't really ask very easily. So I think changing the way we approach the customer using AI could revolutionize experience and get people off video and back on airplanes.
Gentlemen, so many great insights from all of you. And I know we could continue this conversation longer, but I am told that we need to wrap it up to get out of here. So everyone joining, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Gentlemen, I applaud you, your innovations. Can't wait to see what comes next. Jonathan, back to you.
Jill, thank you so much. And Michael, Fuad, and Terry, that was just a great conversation. As Jill said, we could go on and on. Jill, I just wanted to mention to you that Paul Gardner was just in our studio here, and I know you do a lot of work for Mantis Collection. He says hello.
Oh, fantastic. And I saw you guys did something with one of my adopted rhinos, Munu, as well. Munu, the rescued blind rhino, Munu the rhino on Instagram for anyone who wants to follow some conservation journey there.
That's right. We've got a masterclass on Munu as well in the end of January. So hopefully we'll have everybody joining that. Also, Jill, you were asking all the questions here. So tell us, how have you innovated this year? What have you done that's, even if it is small, how have you innovated? What have you done differently?
You know, for me, I actually help people get smaller. And a lot of that came from going and speaking. You know, I used to be traveling around the world on keynote stages talking about the intersections of communication and decision making, and then the world shifted. So for me, it became not how we can do these massive, large events and experiences, but how can we in fact make them feel smaller, more intimate, have people feel that they are a part of a communal experience instead of just sitting back and learning. So thinking smaller in order to impact bigger has been my theme for the year.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's very good. Okay, I'm gonna keep that one.
What about you, Jonathan? I see Bench has been adopting a lot of new technologies in the last 9 months.
Well, yeah, we have. We certainly have been trying everything. So when you're in events and hospitality, you know, we came up against this brick wall, and you have to try things. So we certainly tried things immediately with Hospitality Tomorrow in April, and we've carried on and continue to do it.
Technology, you're bringing the community closer, regardless of where we are located. So thank you for that.
Well, no, Fed, thank you for your comments. But yeah, it's quite exciting because we've won some interesting clients including working with Jill recently. So you never know what's around the corner. You just got to keep trying, I think, and keep innovating and see what happens.
Innovation is all about tinkering, trial and error.
Tinkering. I mean, our lovely studio here, using the hotel room at the Mantis, which is at the
Fail fast.
currently closed. So why not try? So anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Do stick around. We've got a little few more things happening, but really appreciate it, and we will see you for sure at our next event, and Terry at our
Thanks.
next class. So thanks so much. Thanks, Jill.